Few months ago, on the previous episode, we did the rest of the paintwork. The main focus was on the engine bay, the interior, and the rest of the parts, while applying for the base coating for the exterior. We could actually finish it nicely, but to minimize scratches, I chose this option. Costly, but eases the mind. So, that leaves us to one thing. Engine install time. Thus, we are off to RevTech Garage. It's good to be back. Welcome again, guys, and apologies for the delay. It took me months to post this episode, but there are reasons which I will show you later. For now, let's focus on this lovely Japanese lady sitting in Jaedong's garage, aka RevTech. Just a little update on the engine refresh. Remember the OEM parts we bought? Almost all of it was installed. The clutch pack, water pump, seals, bearings, gaskets, you know the drill. Then, it was thoroughly cleaned in preps for the install. I just can't believe it. It's right here, the high-revving B16B Screamer just patiently waiting to be revived. Well, at least it's patient. Me, on the other hand, is just too excited. Just after the paint job, the B-Beam Paintworks actually installed some of the components. But RevTech has another thing in mind. The plan is to replace the brake, fuel lines, install the engine, redo the wiring, basically almost everything. In short, make it run. So just after the car got here, Jaedong's first order of business was to check the previous wiring, which was converted in a hurry. That's what they usually do. So, it's time to fix that up. But before we do that, let's check out this D-Series build that Jaedong did. And surprisingly, it has a B-Series transmission. How cool is that? I don't even have any idea how he did it, but he did it. If you look closely, that's a D-Series with a B-Series tranny. Amazing, huh? I just don't understand how this guy's brains work, but it works. So, just because I always go to the island for work, I may never see it run, or maybe when I get here, you might be able to change it with another engine. I don't know, he does that all the time. So back to the EK9. So to get it working on a left-hand drive, we need the left-hand drive fuse box, which I sourced out from Parted Out Civics, and we'll leave the wiring to Jaedong to figure out how to make this thing work. Well, I have faith in him. On a side note, he mentioned that these slots of wires are connected to the ABS, so if I didn't have the ABS, it could be much simpler, but he took the challenge. Consider it done. Looking at this right now, though it is very exciting, I realize how much work that still needs to be done. Well, you know, building a car, you really can't say it's done, because every time you think it's done, that's the time you realize or find something that needs to be worked on. So it's going to be a long journey, but passion is passion, so we're gonna do it. Looking at this from the interior, I can already imagine what it would look like when it's complete, and checking it out, everything is aligned perfectly. The steering, the dashboard, AC holes, wire holes, whatever holes that's in there, it's perfectly left-hand drive now. So since this baby is already here in RevTech and I know she's in good hands, I can now focus more on the remaining parts. One of the biggest challenges on building an EK9 stock Type R are sourcing out the parts. Like for example this hood, which cost me an arm and a leg just to pay for that. But on the spoiler department, no problem there since I got this along with the car. So I had it painted back to its original color, championship white. Everything here is original, even the balls. The wing itself is legit, and so as its base. And since this is a stock build, as much as possible, everything should be Honda or premium original parts. So let's be careful there because it just got painted. Now on to the rest of the parts that I bought from different suppliers. One of which is Sir Franklin Al Lube, shout out. That original EK9 lower tie bar from Ian Reynoso, the muffler, the exhaust, and the headers, I think from Pat's Parts, Patrick Sunga. And finally, the thing that I have been wanting so bad, the steering wheel. Shout out to Lem's Garage, thank you brother. And for the suspension works, well, for now I'm going to use the BC coilovers, but later on I will have that Teen fixed by coilover specialist. Yeah. So muffler, check. Left-hand drive wiper motor, check. HDWs, I will replace that later. The exhaust pipe, some bolts, which is going to be used later. Master cylinder and the slave. Shifter links and the cat, very rare. Headers, stock Type R. Yeah. These Type R axles, which I replaced the CV joints and refreshed by me, of course. Battery tray and some fresh bolts from Skyline Paul. Just driving around, cruising on a Sunday afternoon in my old Kia car. Hold it go. Peace out, yo. And after all that, time to get back to the island for work. Well, I gotta work. I'm building a Type R. It's gonna mess up my account, so time to work. And after 3 days of work, I decided to hang out by the pool with my fiance. And then J-Dong sent me a message. A very interesting message. The guy has actually fitted the dashboard, and oh my god, it's so amazing. Imagine a single message that ruins up your phone. My brain is going full initial D right now. I then decided to go home, but
we begin with an update on the weather. Typhoon Odette makes its second landfall over Cagyanao. Odette has first made landfall over Siargao Island, Surigao del Norte earlier today. State Weather Bureau Pag-asa says Odette has intensified with maximum sustained winds of 195 kilometers per hour near the center and gusts reaching up to 240 kilometers per hour. More areas have been placed under signal number 4, including portions of Cebu and Leyte. Signal number 3 also up across other parts of Visayas and Mindanao. Dozens of other areas were placed under storm signals 1 and 2. According to the standards of the U.S. Military Weather Agency, Odette, with an international name Rai, has intensified into a super typhoon.
The Philippine Disaster Management Agency says thousands of rescue teams are now on standby in preparation for Odette. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council has identified over 10,000 villages in parts of Visayas and Mindanao that are susceptible to floods and landslides. Disaster preparedness has been ramped up in those areas. The NDRRMC admits preparing for storms is extra challenging because of the pandemic.
At this time of year, the island of Siargao would have been teeming with tourists. But after Typhoon Odette's wrath last December, residents and business owners say the once vibrant island is almost unrecognizable. Fresco, a lodging place and restaurant in General Luna, has yet to open its doors to guests. Odette left the establishment in ruins and now needs a complete overhaul. But despite the considerable repair cost, Fresco manager Noni Ongkoko says they are not giving up on the place.
Yes, me and my fiance was there. It was so devastating. The island was badly hit. The hardest part was the days after. No fuel, less food, water and supplies, while the island was totally isolated from the outside world for like 2 to 3 days. We were able to go back to the mainland and to my surprise, my car was still intact. But I can't say the same for the city. But still, the island and mainland folks are resilient. Siargao and Surigao will definitely rise again. This time, better. Now back at RevTech after a few weeks and having to survive the typhoon, seeing the EK9 is such a relief. And oh, J-Dong bought a new EK, and I was right, the EG has a different engine now. Wow. Look at the EK9's progress right there. Even while being worried out of communication, J-Dong did the work. The engine is now installed, and other components like the axles and the rest. The wiring are partially done, fuse box installed, ABS system, fuel and brake lines replaced. I mean really, after just a few weeks, and the guy did the job very well. Now to save some of the cost, I reused the innovative mounts, maybe replace them some other time. Brake boosters, steering lines, well, it's not yet done, but it's already prepared. Wow, this is just so amazing. Look at that job. It is so clean. The rest of the rear suspension, well, let's mind that later. I will probably replace that with the OEM one, which I have ordered from Skyline Paul. These lines we're gonna clean later, and the LCA we're going to replace, like I said. The trailing arm and the braking systems I will be repainting later. I will probably have them powder coated and replace all the bushings with energy suspension. So let's give it a rest for now. ABS electronics are properly placed. Fuel lines and brake lines, they still need more cleaning, but it's properly installed, so. The wheel bearings still needs to be replaced, but yeah, later. Subframe needed. It's properly tightened up. So yeah, everything down here are all properly done. And look at that plastic right there. Back again at the fuel tank. I just can't believe it. All the bolts and clips are there. And some of the missing parts, J-Dong took the liberty of finding me a new one. Such a nice guy. Well, if you look at that, it looks like a Christmas tree down there. The next episode will be focusing more on its first startup and installing the rest of the parts. And most likely, the final coating. Oh man, I just can't wait. Stick that Type R decal right there. I have been dreaming about that for like weeks. No, months. No, probably a year. But I think it's gonna take a while. So, slowly but surely, that's how we get it done. Now, thank you so much guys for the patience. Episode 5 will be coming real soon. Now, please hit like, subscribe, and share it to your friends for more viewers. Whoa.